What do you think is an either realistic trade value or contract for Marco Rossi? And at this point, I mean, I feel like everybody who does like a Wild show or even every fan has like talked about the various endless options that seemingly the Minnesota Wild and cannot just pick. So let's get into it, Brett, because we got a lot of notes here.
Yeah. So I think just to like kind of answer the question about what is like the contract value, I think they maintain him as camp. They want 7x7. And I would say if they go on a bridge, I'd say they're probably looking north of 6 on like a 2 to 3 year deal with the guarantee that they know he's playing in the top 6. So that's
or
kind
that they're trading you immediately.
Yeah. As far as like his trade value, like I think what's rumored that the Wild have been asking for is reasonable, like an equivalent player, whether it's a center or a wing, like under 25, has shown they can produce in the NHL, have a lot of upside. Like, so and if not that, I think I would say like first, second, third, or equivalent prospect. Although I'd rather have the skater, which I think Guerin would too if he were to move him, or be able to, or get assets back he can flip in a subsequent trade. And I think that's why a lot of this is held up right now is they haven't seen eye to eye in the contract and they haven't found what they like in a trade. So, I mean, moving him to wing,
I just don't think that's like solves any of their issues.
Correct. Like unless your reasoning is to get Urov in at center, but now you have Tarasenko with Hartman and Foligno. Does that really like? I think then you're going to get Detroit Tarasenko at that point. I think where you're not going to get much. So it creates a lot of wrinkles.
Like right now, I just don't think he's going to be part of this team the whole year. I think whatever deal they land on, it's going to be like, okay, that's my deal, and teams will be like, okay. Now we don't have to deal with signing him. We know what the values. We know how much he makes, and we can proceed from there. Or maybe this becomes like a Pavel Bure situation where like, okay, we're butting heads on contract shit, but new year, new team ish, we'll have a fresh start. But just the way that he was deployed in the playoffs, despite producing, I just don't think Hines and Guerin, who seem stubborn, are going to budge.
Yeah.
Congrats both of your center.
Yeah. So the other thing I was curious about, and Russo had brought this up, I can't remember if it was on one of his podcasts or his radio, just like kind of taking a look at, like Bill Guerin came out and mentioned like if anyone offers sheets Rossi, we're going to match it, which I think is easy to scoff at. Go, yeah, you're just saying that. But I was like, but maybe he actually is like serious about it because what I did today, I went and looked through. If we assume that he wants the 7x7 he's been asking for, that's going to require, in order to get offer sheeted, a first round pick and a third round pick in next year's draft that has to be yours. So it can't be one that you traded or acquired. It has to
next
be
year's draft is stacked.
Yeah, like it's the Gavin McKenna draft.
Sweepstakes. Yeah, sweepstakes.
Like he's a generational talent. There's some content on here. He just agreed to go to Penn State, committed there next year, so you can go watch
700,000 big ones to go to college hockey, baby.
Yeah,
not the London Knights.
So I believe Hoppy and Z did a little segment on that you can check out on the channel if you want more on that. But anyway, so yeah, like to your point, like you need to have first and the third. People need to part with the first and the third to get him. And so I kind of went team by team through that and just kind of decided like, could this be realistic or not? The first team that had the picks, Anaheim Ducks. Now they
don't need a center.
And that's where they're at. They have Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish, who's an RFA. I believe it's Dylan Strome that's there. And then just signed Mikael Granlund 3x7. Maybe not guaranteed he'll be at center. He could end up on the wing. I do not see them at all being interested in signing Rossi at $7 million. Maybe if they hadn't signed Granlund, maybe they're interested in that scenario. But they did. The only other wrinkle, which I think maybe this is a trade candidate if McTavish and the Ducks can't see eye to eye, and if the Wild value him and Anaheim has interest, there'd be a lot of factors, but that's the only world where I even see that remotely likely.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're an option. Next on the list, this is a team I do think would have the potential to offer sheet, and that's Boston. Right now down the middle, they have Elias Lindholm, Pavel Zacha, and they just signed Sean Corrali, and then also have a youngster in John Beecher. So the fit is there. Like they could use a guy like Rossi, but I think in the same breath, to your point, they're probably going to be bad this year and probably don't want to lose an unprotected first.
Yeah.
That could potentially be a lottery pick for Gavin McKenna. So they're one of the higher potential, but I just don't see it happening. Buffalo could do it, but the Wild offered him for Turka. They didn't take it, so I doubt they'd put in an offer sheet for him. Another one I think that could be interesting and like a real fit would be Calgary. Right now, their middle is Nazem Kadri, Mikhail Backlund, who's I think now like 34 or 35 years old.
36.
36.
Still like putting up plus 30 points though, which is what I love about Backlund. He just has been quietly putting up like 30 points season. Literally, he hasn't even hit 40. 37 was just quietly putting up like just north of 30 points since 2010.
He's just like the penultimate 3C.
Yeah.
So like I think there's a fit there because I think like Rossi's an upgrade over Backlund. He's an upgrade over Frost. They have the picks. They have the cap space. They're in a spot where they probably would like to improve their team without giving up assets. So maybe they're one that you do it. I think maybe they're also team that could maybe trade. I would bet you the Wild would have potential interest in Nazem Kadri. I just don't know if you want to be paying him at 34 for 4 more years at $7 million a year. And realistically, you're maybe getting 1 to 2 more top 6 seasons. So they're a team that
good player, but it's like you're getting 2 top years out of them.
Yeah, and they are the one team though. I would think if they just went straight offer sheet, I think Minnesota would maybe consider matching it just because that first round pick is probably going to be in the mushy middle. So it's probably worth it if you at that point to match. But next one's here, Chicago. Right now they have Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar, and Oliver Moore down the middle. But I just think much like Boston, Chicago's going to be bad again, and I think they're going to want that first round pick for the shot at McKenna. So I don't see that happening there. Columbus, I think they're probably another team that's just set down the middle with Monahan, Fantilli, just having added Charlie Coyle, and Cole Sillinger, who I think they have on the wing, can also fill in there. So maybe if they wanted to trade one of those players, like whether that's Fantilli or Sillinger, if those became available. Detroit was the next team on the list. Right now they have Larkin, Marco Kasper, and JT Compher already down the middle, and they also have Danielson in the AHL. Like, if at some point Dylan Larkin wanted to get out, or like if Marco Kasper maybe became available, like maybe those are guys the Wild would consider in a trade. But again, I don't see them offer sheeting. I think they have enough depth down the middle than to add Rossi at $7 million. The next one I have down here, to me, won't do it, but it's potential, and that's the Los Angeles Kings. So right now their centers are Kopitar, Quentin Byfield, and then Philip Deneau. Kopitar is on the final year left of his deal. Deneau has 1 more year after this. Where it gets tricky for the Wild, that pick, very likely a later pick, like in the 20s, like LA has high aspirations to be good. And LA needs to extend some big names. They have to pay Adrian Kempe. They have to pay Brant Clark. So part of me just wonders, do you believe that Byfield can be a 1? In that case, are you okay with Rossi and Deneau as your 2-3? Like, there's a lot of like longer play. I think they would definitely want it for like this year or next year, but beyond that is where it gets a little gray for me, but I wouldn't rule them out. Montreal, as it stands, they don't have enough cap space. They'll reportedly being in the mix for a number 2 center, but they have like the Carey Price LTIR stuff, so I don't know how that totally affects their actual cap space, but I just don't see that one as likely. It sounds like they're not interested either from what I've heard. This next team is one I think is probably the most likely, and that's the Nashville Predators. Their centers are currently Steven Stamkos, Ryan O'Reilly, and Eric Halla. I think at this point he's probably an upgrade over O'Reilly. He's definitely an upgrade over Halla. O'Reilly has 2 years left on his deal. Stamkos has 3. Halla in the final year of his deal. They don't really have a lot of center prospects cooking at all. So I think if you're the Wild, like I would think this is a team that's going to miss the playoffs. That's going to be a lottery pick. Maybe not a great one. Could be like in that 10 to 13 range, but it still gives you a chance and gives you a pretty good return on Rossi in that sense. But do you want to let him go to a divisional team? I think is kind of where the other pause is for the Wild. So I think they're the most likely, just given need, given what they'd be giving up, where he fits into the lineup. I could see that as a potential spot. So they'd be the one that actually like have me a little worried.
Yeah.
Because I want Rossi to, even at this point, if it's a 2-year deal, I want him extended. New Jersey was next on the list, but another team that's pretty set down the middle with Hughes, Hischier, and Mercer. If somehow one of those guys became available in a trade and Rossi could be the piece, maybe that's there. But like I mentioned before, New Jersey has to pay Luke Hughes still. And it sounds like there is, if there were the chance that Quinn Hughes doesn't go back to Vancouver, you could bet they would like to unite all three of them in New Jersey and would probably pay whatever.
And Kovalchuk's money no longer on the books.
There you go.
I think it was only like $150,000 at this point.
Yeah. So that's when I think doesn't really make sense. Islanders, they already have Bo Horvat and Matt Barzal as their 1C and 2C. They are both under contract for 6 more years at a combined $17.65 million.
Yeah.
So even though they have Pajot as the 3C entering the last year of his deal, who apparently the Wild had interest in, but I think Nico Sturm has filled the role that they would have kind of penciled him into, and they probably don't view him at this point in his career as a number 2 center. So unless one of Barzal or Horvat became available in the trade market, I would guess that this isn't a fit here with the Islanders either. Other New York teams, all 3 New York teams potential here, but another one I don't think is likely, the Rangers. Right now they have Trocheck, Miller, and Zibanejad up the middle. They're all under contract for at least another 4 years. I would guess same thing here with some of these others. I think if a JT Miller or Vinny Trocheck became available on the trade market, the Wild probably have interest in that, but I just don't think that's going to happen. And to top that all off, I do not believe the Rangers have $7 million in cap space to do that. Next one here, Philadelphia. They have Couturier for 5 more years, Noah Cates for 4 more years, and just signed Zegras. So unless Zegras is going to the wing, I don't see that happening. It sounds like at one point that the Flyers were interested in Rossi in the offseason, but I would guess with the Zegras addition, they're probably off of that now. Pittsburgh, like another spot that makes a lot of sense, like given what they have down the middle right now, it's Crosby and Malkin.
But like Malkin's done after this year. Crosby, who knows when Malkin leaves, what his plan is.
But like they're going to be so bad this year, like you can bet that. Oh no, we're losing Sid and Malkin. Dang, Gavin McKenna. Oh well.
Well, and they're like Carlson's very much in play to be moved again. Letang's just probably going to retire there, but Letang ain't single-handedly helping this team win games,
So I just like, I think that there's a trade that comes up with Pittsburgh, like maybe they're in the mix that way, but there's no way they offer sheet.
No.
St. Louis was next up on the list, so they could maybe use another center. Their second line center right now is Braden Shen, who I believe has 3 more years left on his deal, but kind of on the wrong side of 30 now. His game's declining. We did talk earlier. They just added Pius Suter, and they maybe have interest in adding, but they were going to have to pay. So they have pending free agents, I think, between this year and next year in Dylan Holloway, Jake Neighbors, Torpchenko, Jimmy Snuggerud, and Philip Broberg. So like they have a lot of guys they're going to need to pay. And with it being in the division, again, I don't see either side doing it. Personally, Utah up next, staying in the division again. My guess is they'd have interest. Their second line center, I believe, right now is Barrett Hayton, but they only has $6.657 million in cap space, and I think at that price, the Wild probably match. So maybe Utah believes Jack McBain, who they extended, can be like maybe fill in as like a second line center. I don't know, but unless they find a way to clear cap to get him to that $7 million number in play, but I would say probably won't happen. And then finally, Winnipeg. I think Rossi becomes the best center on the team behind Scheifele if he were to go there. If the Jets keep Gabe Velarde on the wing, he can play center as well.
I think the Jets actually kind of works. To be honest.
Yeah, it's like they're the ones I'm on the fence with. They also currently have $19.898 million in cap space, but that's before extending Velarde, Morgan Barron, Dylan Sandberg, and Luke Shen are all.
You think you think it's going to cost $19 million?
That's between this year and next year, I think. But they also need to extend beyond this year Cole Perfetti and Kyle Connor, who I imagine both of those are going to be quite expensive. They just signed Jonathan Toews, whose cap hit is driven by incentives, so they have to account for that. So I think if the Jets can figure out a lot of these numbers and they can be like, hey, we can.
I mean, they were prepared to give Ehlers what he wanted, right? So like they clearly could make the money work, and especially at a way lower rate because like they were going to pay Ehlers more probably. So
yeah, so I think
I could see it working if who did they bring in again that we were ripping on
Nyquist, yeah.
If they're really like, oof, this was bad, like they could maybe circle back in a trade maybe.
Yeah. So like they're interesting to me. I just think it would take a while for that to happen. I think that to figure out some other extensions and role fits and stuff for like that first. But yeah, so like to me, most likely still feels like Nashville. I would throw Calgary in the mix. I'd throw Utah in the mix. And I think I'd throw Winnipeg in the mix. Like those would probably be the 4 or 5 that I would think it's possible to, but I think Minnesota matches at least probably 3 out of the 5 of those. So